So now, with great, pleasure, I would like to welcome the next speaker of the day. I'm really glad to, welcome Stephen Rudolph, who is the creator of Multiple Natures Theory and founder of Multiple Natures International Incorporation. He has over 25 years of experience in education field, and Stephen spent 21 years in India, where he developed the Yemen concept, which has already been used by more than 15,000, that is, sorry, 150,000 people around the world. He's the founder of Jiva Public School and co-created Jiva Ayurveda, the world's largest telemedicine center that has treated over 2 million patients. He holds a master's in education from Temple University, who's the author of 2 best-selling books, and is a recent recipient of the World Summit Award for e-health. So I'm really glad and excited to welcome Stephen Rudolph, who is the next speaker of our session. So welcome, Stephen.
Thank you, Nandini, for that warm welcome and introduction, and a special thanks to Dr. Sahid Cholayil for this invitation for me to join this session and to address this world record large-sized audience on a very important topic of careers and the future that we're facing right now, which seems to be quite a challenging one. So I'm going to share my screen because I have a presentation. So, you just let me know if you're able to see my share screen. Is it coming through okay?
Yes, sir. Everything is fine. We're able to see.
Great. Thank you so much. So my topic for today is called Multiple Natures. And I'm going to share an idea where you can discover your unique abilities, align them, and thrive. So this is the topic for today. And before we get into the topic, I think it's important for me to take over from where Dr. Cholayil left off. We're really faced with a challenging situation in the world today. And I'll start with a poem. It would be nice to have a little bit of poetry with us today. This is from Warsan Shire, from one of his poems. He says, a part of the poem, "Later that night, I held an atlas in my lap, ran my fingers across the whole world and whispered, 'Where does it hurt?' It answered, 'Everywhere, everywhere, everywhere.'" So if you're like me, going through your various Facebook feeds or Instagram feeds or news posts that we check out on a daily basis, we see so many challenges facing us that are really quite daunting. They make us feel insecure. They give us anxiety. They make us fearful because so much change is taking place. And it brings a question to us that what is the future going to be like, and what is my place going to be like that in the future? What steps should I take now in order to prepare for that future that I don't even know, which I don't even know what it's going to be like? So I'm going to give some insights about how you might be able to take steps today so you don't have to be fearful of the future. You'll be able to stand in your own shoes and take every day and every challenge as it comes with a degree of certainty and with a degree of self-confidence. And so here we go. Let me start with a little bit about myself. I'm from New Jersey, Wayne, New Jersey, originally. This is thanks to the help of Google Maps. You can find your childhood home if you no longer live there. And growing up as a youngster in the United States, just like everybody out there who's watching, you had a dream of what it was that you wanted to be. I'm sure probably when you were in school or in high school, you might have thought to yourself, I want to be a doctor, or maybe I want to be a web designer. Well, in my case, I had a dream that I wanted to be a rock star. So this is me when I was about 17 years old. And I was quite sure that that's what I was going to be because I have an aptitude for music. And I think I can be entertaining at times. And I decided I was going to pursue that as a career, but I found out very quickly once I graduated college that aspiring rock stars don't make any money. And so living in New York, I had to pay the rent, and I went out and I got a job. And I got any job that I could find. I got a job as an English teacher. Just like that, I saw a sign that said wanted English teachers. I thought, okay, I speak English, how hard could it be? And I got the job, and I started teaching. In my first class, I said to myself, oh my God, it was like an epiphany. I could do this for the rest of my life. Something woke up inside. It was like I heard the Akashvani, right? That voice from the sky that says, Steve, you're not a rock star, you're a teacher. And I listened to that voice and I thought, this is what I'm going to pursue. And after some time, I thought to myself, you know what? Why is it that school never prepared me for this? Why didn't my classes, my teachers ever help me to understand that I had this propensity to educate? And so I decided that I wanted to open up a school, and that the speciality of my school would be to help individuals, to help the children understand who they were, not just to pass the exams, right? Start first with, who am I? That's the most important question. So I was going to open up my school in New York City, and then I met someone from India, and he said, hey, listen, Stephen, don't do this in New York. Come to India. This is back in 1991 or so, yeah. And come to India, and let's open up this school there. And so after some years of planning, I got my master's degree. I was in Japan for some time, got some experience, saved some money. I moved to India. A far cry from New York. And if you remember India in the 90s, if you were even born at that time, it was a fairly rugged kind of place. And we had a house where we lived, and we didn't have money to buy a building or a piece of land to run a school. So we started the school with 8 children on the first day and 3 teachers, and with the idea that we're going to help children understand their natures. This was a Jiva Public School based in Faridabad. So I'll fast forward to today. Jiva Public School today has almost 2,000 students, and true to the vision, all the children understand what their basic nature is, what their future, which directions would be the best directions for them to take in their future because of the program that we've created. And it's a program which I call Multiple Natures. I'm going to share it and explain how it works. And if you would even like to access it, you'll have an opportunity to do so. So they're what I call human alignment tools, and I'll explain what I mean by that in just a little while. And I developed this tool. Part of it is a test. There's a psychometric test called the Multiple Natures test. And I began doing this in the 2000s, going from school to school. I don't know, perhaps some of you, if you were in school at the time, you might have seen me. I went to hundreds of schools throughout India giving various workshops. And thousands and thousands of students in India actually took the Multiple Natures test. And I just want to share one example. It's a student I had never met before, but this was in Patiala. We did the test about a year later, did the test in the school. About a year later, I get this email message from a guy named Simar Soki. And he says, thanks to the MN test, I've taken up dancing and my parents have agreed, right? So this was he shared with me that his parents wanted him to become an engineer, but he wanted to become a dancer, but the test indicated that he could become a dancer. And so he says that his parents have agreed. I can now say I'm living my dream. I'm currently the world's second best Sikh classical dancer, and I'll soon be the first. And he sends me this picture. And I almost fall off my chair. And I think to myself, look at him, look at his face, look at his energy. My God. The world has lost one very mediocre engineer, and it has gained an incredible human being who's contributing his capacity and his talents to the art of dancing. And I thought to myself, yes, this is working, this is right. Everybody needs not to be a dancer, but to have this same alignment. What you are looking at is an individual who is aligned. And alignment can happen as a dancer, it can happen as an AI developer, it can happen as a salesperson, it can happen as a physiotherapist. You can be aligned in many different types of work. However, certain people will find alignment more in certain areas and rather than other areas. And we're going to talk about this in just a little bit. So I had to do my deep dive into India. I had to learn Hindi. I had to learn a little Sanskrit. मैं हिंदी थोड़ा बोल लेता हूँ. So अगर आपको if you want to hear, मैं थोड़ा सा बोल लेता हूँ. कभी कभार मैं हिंदी में बोलता हूँ. And मौका नहीं मिलते हैं वो practice करना. So when I get these opportunities, I really like it. So I did my deep dive into Indian philosophy, into the culture. I met all sorts of people from the Ambanis. I met all the Amitabh Bachchan. I've met lots of Bollywood heroes and heroines. I also went to various places to study with great scholars who would reveal to me deep secrets about Vedic and Indian philosophy, which helped me greatly. In fact, You might know Jiva Ayurveda. I'm one of the co-founders. Dr. Partap Chauhan, you've probably seen him on TV, was my colleague for many years. I was behind the technology that you see today. You might not know that because you didn't see me on TV doing that, but I made the first Ayurvedic website in 94, the first Ayurvedic courses online in 95, the first Ayurvedic store in 95, and the first Ayurvedic telemedicine center also in 95. I developed the Teledoc program, which was the first rural healthcare program that won us the World Summit Award, and produced the first Ayurvedic TV shows for Jiva Ayurveda on Care World and various television channels that you must have seen. This then evolved into the Ayurvedic Telemedicine Center that has over 400 doctors, 1,500 employees, and about 8,000 patients per day, which is also a world record for number of patients treated per day in telemedicine. And so with that, we developed clinics, we did big data analysis. With that background of my understanding the education, of my getting deeply into the Indian philosophy and culture, and also going into Ayurveda, I was able to unearth some secrets, let's just say, or some secrets that were really not known, as it seemed to me, to most people in India and definitely not to people in the West. And so I would like to share some of those with you if you would like to know about them. Would you like to know about those secrets? All right, well, you have an opportunity. If you remember the Matrix, if you want, you can take the blue pill, and if you do, there's no turning back, and the story ends, and you wake up in your bed and believe whatever it is that you want to believe. But if you take the purple pill, you're going to come into MN land with me, and I'm going to show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. So I hope you stick with me for this. All I'm offering is the truth and nothing more. Okay, so the first big concept that was introduced to me was swastha. Now, you know this word, right? Swastha, swast. You hear it all the time. Aapka swast kaise hai? Swast theek hai, right? People will ask you that all the time. The word swa, sta, two parts. Swa means self. Sta means to be situated in. So swa, sta means to be situated within yourself. Situated within yourself. Isn't it amazing that the word actually means to be healthy? Blew my mind. What does it say? Health is not your body mass index. Health is not your cholesterol level. Your level of health or well-being is dependent on how situated in yourself you are. Now, what does that mean to be situated in yourself? So I got excited to try to find out what that means. I went to the next big concept, Purusharth. The four human pursuits, Dharma, Arth, Kam, and Moksha. You would have heard this before. Indians know this like that. Your grandmother would have told you about it, and you know it on the back of your hand, but I didn't, okay? Now, I'm going to hold off on Dharma for just a second because that's a little bit more tricky. Arth, right? To make money. Everybody's got to make money. You got to take care of your family. You have to take care of your food and your clothes and things like that. Arth, simple. You need to be responsible about your money. Number two, Kama, right? All work and no play makes Yogender a dull boy, right? You have to have some fun once in a while. It can't just be work, work, work all day. Otherwise, life's going to lose its fun and its meaning. And moksha, well, obviously, there has to be some sort of greater purpose to what it is that you're doing. So whether you say it's enlightenment or whether you say it's fulfilling a purpose which is beneficial towards humanity, there has to be some greater purpose rather than just like eating and living and dying. There needs to be something that... Okay, so I understood those things, but this Dharma word got me really, really perplexed. It really tricked me. What the heck is this? Because all the time, I went to the root to understand. Dharma means from the root dri, to hold together. But here, people were talking about Dharma in English. I said, what is Dharma? They would say it's religion, it's righteousness, it's duty, right? It's my duty. People used to say to me all the time, right? I couldn't understand it. And there's a reason for this. And this is very important to understand how all this fits together. There is no definition of Dharma in English. And that's why Westerners can't understand this word, because it's got two components to it. Dharma means it's something used for its intended purpose. And it also means something used for ethical purposes. Now hold on to your socks, get ready. So if you put these two on a matrix like this, I call it the Dharma Matrix, where the top and the bottom are engaged for its intended purpose, the bottom is engaged for an unintended purpose, and on the left and the right, we talk about, let's just say, ethical and unethical. Let's watch what happens when we put a hammer into here. Okay, let's look in quadrant A. A hammer used for its intended purpose, let's say for a good reason, an ethical reason would be to build a hospital, right? Now, what happens if an intruder comes into your house, right, and you throw a hammer at him? Well, it's used for an ethical purpose, but it's not what it was intended for, right? Now, what happens over here? Somebody takes a hammer and they vandalize a car. Well, it's not the intended purpose and it's unethical. Now let's look up here. If you've seen Breaking Bad, right, you might resonate with this. If you used a hammer, right, to build something, but what you built was a meth lab, right, it's used for the intended purpose, but it's unethical. Get ready. Let's put people into this. But before we do, let's understand the definition of Ayurveda. This comes right out of Charak Samhita. Listen carefully. Hitahitam sukham dukamaya ayustasya hitahitam. Ayurveda is that which deals with the good, the bad, the blissful, and the sorrowful life. What is beneficial, what is not beneficial, with longevity, right? As Sahid was talking about what Ayu is and life itself. Now get ready for this. Let's put these also on the same matrix. What is blissful, right? Sukh, what is sorrowful? Dukh, right? Intended, the unintended. What is good? Hit, right? Ethical. What is bad? Ahit, unethical. Now, if you put people into here, you can see this is Harriet Tubman, who was somebody you might not know from India, but she was somebody who helped to ferry slaves across the Mason-Dixon line to get them into the North to be free about 150 years ago or so. So her natures are aligned, her action is ethical. What about somebody whose natures are misaligned and their action is ethical? This is what Shami Kapoor once explained to me. I met Shami Kapoor, and he called these Dukhi Atma. People have got a good heart, but they're not doing something that's fulfilling, right? This is what's in this quadrant. Now let's take a look here. Natures are not aligned and the action is unethical. This is a case of James Holmes, who was the murderer in Aurora, Colorado, who shot up an entire movie theater. And then the natures are aligned, but the action's unethical. Bernie Madoff, who was a financer and investor, but he defrauded millions of people out of billions of dollars. So if we understand here what Dharma is, right? What does Dharma mean? It means to be in this quadrant, moving toward alignment. You need to follow, right? You need to follow your intended purpose for good. I hope you're with me. Hang on, because we're going to take it forward. Now, Charak Samhita goes a little forward, and it gives you some codes of conduct for work. Avoiding procrastination, strike while the iron's hot. It tells you don't lose hope. It also don't overload your intellect. It also tells you should always remember your own nature. Your own nature. And I'm saying, what is this nature thing? What is this nature that I keep, prakriti, you'll hear, swabhav. I keep hearing this word coming up again and again. Follow your nature, remember your nature. What is it? I turn to the Bhagavad Gita and the answer is bang right there, right? You all know the story. You've got two warring cousins, two warring families, right? Cousins of each other, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, right? And Arjuna is the leader of the Pandavas, and these are the good guys essentially, and the Kauravas they're the bad guys. And Krishna is the chariot driver, and Arjuna has to fight, and he's got this Gandiv. It's like the Excalibur of bows. He gets out there and he's got to fight, but he sees on the other side his grandfather, his teacher Dronacharya, and he suddenly says to himself, "Oh my God, I can't fight. I can't kill my family members." And he says to Krishna, "I'm not going to fight because I'll cause more problems than good, and better I become a sadhu or a mendicant." And Krishna, what does he do? He smiles. And and Arjuna's depressed. He drops the Gandiv. He drops it. Right? He's shaking. His hair standing up. He's absolutely in depression. And Krishna says to him, "Listen, it's in your blood. You are a warrior. You are a kshatriya. This is your nature. You have to fight because that's what your duty is. So do it for the intended purpose, but do it for good. You're going to defeat the people who are doing evil, the people who are doing wrong for society." So if you look in Gita, you'll find these quotes. Listen to this. This is where it all comes from. "No one can remain even for a moment without doing something, for all are compelled to act by the forces of nature." This is what's going on outside. The pandemic comes, you lose your job, right? Your company shuts down, and now suddenly you're with that, and you have to take care. What do? Right? It gets sent to another city, and now you have to find another job in another city. So things are constantly changing, and you're forced to act in each of those. This is what's so hard. Look at what Sahid is saying. AI is coming. People have to keep changing what they're used to, changing their technologies, and so you have to keep adapting, and this is the tricky thing. So he also says all beings follow their nature. So what's the use of resisting it? So he's saying that you've got a nature inside you and it's geared toward doing certain kinds of things. So don't try to run off the battlefield and then don't try to run off the battlefield and become something else. You have to do what you have to do. And lastly, he says, and I love this one, it's better to perform one's own dharma imperfectly than it is to perform another's dharma flawlessly. It's better to die while engaged in your own dharma, what's called swadharma, than engaging in someone else's dharma, because that will bring nothing but anxiety. Bhai. So these are powerful things talking about what this nature is. So exactly what is that swabhav? Your own being, your own nature, your inherent capacity, your essence. That's where I developed the MN framework. And so I used two aspects or two concepts for my framework. One is a Western concept by Howard Gardner called multiple intelligences. The other is multiple natures, which I developed and I drew out of the Indian context and ethos and philosophy. So on the left, you have intelligences. These are abilities, right? Your body, your gross bodily intelligence to use your body for like sports or physical things. Your fine bodily is your hands. Interpersonal means your ability to deal with people. Logic is dealing with numbers. Linguistic is dealing with language. Your visual intelligence is the graphic for drawing and painting and photography. The spatial for manipulating things and people in space. If you're operating a drone, that would be spatial. Musical intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, the deep reflective thinking, and naturalistic intelligence, understanding plants, animals, nature, and the environment. So these are your abilities, how you render how you render things. Your natures, this is that thing, that nature's part that I was just talking about, your essence, who you are. This is what I derive. These are tendencies or propensities. Now, it's not there written explicitly, but I had to do a lot of research to pull this out. I've identified 9 of these. A protective nature, which is a tendency to prevent harm, loss, or injury. An educative nature, which is a tendency to teach. And while I'm doing this, you can think about the ones that are really strong for you or the ones that might be really weak for you. You know, so there's some you're going to say, yeah, that's me. That's me. An administrative nature, which is like this tendency to manage and get work done. A creative nature, which is a tendency to generate new ideas and brainstorm. A healing nature, which is a tendency to help others out of pain, right? An entertaining nature, which is this tendency to draw attention to yourself or your work and to amuse people. A providing nature, which is a tendency to help people and to assist and to guide them. And an entrepreneurial nature, which is this ability to create value in projects and businesses. And last, an adventurous nature, which is a tendency to take risk. And what's so cool about these things is how they interact. This is like the pataka, this is the fireworks, right? So if you see a bodily intelligence is strong and protective strong, then what happens is the person might be geared toward a police officer, a firefighter. If healing is strong, but the gross bodily is strong, then there's a physiotherapist or a massage therapist. If the entrepreneurial is strong and the naturalistic is strong, well, there's somebody who might decide to make a business that has natural medicines or plants or maybe a place to keep your a hotel for dogs when the owners are away. So this is how I took that knowledge from India, I melded East and I melded West together to create a tool that will help people understand what their essence is and how they can align it with whatever work they choose. So you're going to see how we're going to use this. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's take a look at this example. Like, what about a server in a restaurant? She's providing, right? Giving, serving, helping, but she has to be strong with her bodily and people too, right? If she's not strong with the people, right, interpersonal, then she's not going to really be comfortable serving people all day long. It's going to be like wearing shoes that are too tight and you hate your job. What if she's not providing? She doesn't really want to help people, but she got a job as a server. She's going to be miserable all day long, right? She's going to hate that. What about an office administrator? Somebody needs to be strong with administrative nature, getting work done. Again, they have to be interpersonal, but linguistic, because they have to give instructions, they have to be careful with the details. And if they're not administrative and they're forgetting deadlines all the time, they're going to lose their job. They're going to hate their job. Some people just think, oh, I just got a job at Geo. It's so great. What are you doing? I'm an office administrator. But then you're not administrative and you hate it and you get fired. So this is what I mean by being aligned with who you are. What about an airport security officer, right? Protective, wants to prevent harm, loss, and injury, but needs that visual all day long, right? Needs that visual thing. Why? Because he's going to constantly be looking for the bombs and stuff like that, looking, checking. If he doesn't have that protective thing and doesn't really care, things are going to slip by and that could cause problems. It's what I call MN vision. I once had a programmer who worked for me. Now, programmers need to be administrative. There's so much detail they have to keep track of. They need to be logical too. But unfortunately, this guy was low in those two, and he was high and entertaining and interpersonal, making jokes all the time, interacting with people instead of being on the computer. And this guy used to get really frustrated, and eventually he got fired because he couldn't do his job properly because he wasn't aligned with what he was doing. And if you look from the Ayurvedic perspective, you can see there are different kinds of diseases, and one of those is psychological diseases. Types of treatment, you got spiritual therapy, you've got rational therapy, that's like, your medicines, etc. Counseling and psychotherapy, that's what's the wave of the future, Satya Vijaya. And the reason for this is because of future shock, a negative psychological state of individuals and society caused by too much change in too short a period of time. The reason people are getting sick and can't stay well is because too much change and they can't keep up with it. They can't adapt quickly enough. How do you adapt to all this change? So in the future, we need more counselors, we need more psychotherapists, we need people who've got tools to help people navigate the constant change. And that's why I'm really glad that Sahid has taken up this challenge to create so many career counselors in India, because you want to move into that direction with all that adapting, you're going to need people to help in the process. So in order to do this, Ayurveda says very clearly, you need to access people who have that knowledge, and you should follow your own unique constitution, including your nature. All of this is coming out of 5,000-year-old information. And this is the mind-blowing thing. It took me 21 years to dig that stuff out, but we got it, and we've managed to put it into tools. And this will help people from stopping doing this. You're misaligned, you don't love your job, you're not sure of what to do next. So what do? Caffeine, you comfort eat, you go for cookies and sugary kind of things, rasgulla, Raj Bhog, right? I mean, gulab jamun, how do you resist, right? You eat, you overeat, people are smoking, they're vaping, they turn to alcohol, sometimes they go shopping, right? Retail therapy, avoidance strategies, all because they're misaligned with, well, what do you do when someone gets to Mars, right? You do all this stuff, this guy gets to Mars, and suddenly he realizes, what the heck am I doing here? Who am I? That guy is still going to have that problem. It's a 5,000, this is an eternal human problem. This is endemic to human beings, and it was there 5,000 years ago, and it's going to be there 5,000 years in the future. Who am I? What's my essence? And how do I align myself so I can thrive and I can be happy? And you can't stimulate your way to happiness. It's like a diminishing return. The more you keep eating, after a while, it becomes painful. 1 cigarette, 2 cigarettes, right? 1 cup of coffee, 1 cup of chai, 2 cups of chai, right? After a while, it becomes painful. So let me leave you with this last analogy to help you understand how you could apply this to your life specifically, right? And this is even beyond careers, but we'll see that in a minute, which is tigers. I want you to imagine these qualities that I showed you about intelligences and natures, like tigers. So if you're strong with that logical intelligence, right, it's like a big tiger, it needs to eat. If it's medium-sized, it's kind of like a medium-sized tiger. And if it's not really strong, it's like a little tiger. And all tigers need to eat. But you need to know the strength of your tiger. So if you're really strong, you're going to be doing Sudokus, and your job should be logical related. But if not, you need to avoid that. You need to think carefully about that, because otherwise you're going to get overfed tigers. What in Ayurveda is called ati yoga, when you overuse your qualities. You overuse these intelligences or natures too much. It's all there in the literature. The opposite is what I call hungry tigers, ayoga, when you don't use your intelligences and your natures enough. And I like to say, if you don't feed your tigers, they will eat you. So if you've got a huge creative nature and you're not using it, what happens? It's going to eat you from inside, and then you start to medicate, and then you start to smoke and do all these things that are going to eat away at your swastha. You are not going to be aligned with yourself, and you are going to be miserable. You are going to be dukhi atma. The MN framework, right? Don't forget that these are your tigers. That's what I'm talking about. And you can do it anyway. As Sahid says, there might not be jobs. You can think about it like food, like aperitif and appetizers, main course and dessert. Hobbies like a dessert. There's some people who won't need money. They're going to be able to be doing hobbies all the time. Or maybe they do a couple of gigs, a couple of hustle jobs on the side. Those are like appetizers, right? You do a gig over here, you do a gig over there. Some people will have jobs. It's not that they're going to go away completely, but some will, and some people have interest. So your tigers don't care how they get fed. They just need to get fed. Now it's up to you to look at your tigers and to figure out how you can do that. Okay, so how does multiple natures help you do this? So I've created what is called a human alignment tool that gives you the ability to use this and understand. The offerings are basically this. We have an MN test, which is a 4-step personality assessment. We have MN Life, which are workshops. We have an online workshop now where you can discover your nature. And we have training programs for guidance professionals who like to use this tool and these tools to help align their clients. So the MN test, there's 4 parts to it. And look at there's 2 tests online. One of them is an AI-based adaptive test, but then there's a live assessment where you work with a human being. So there is a human touch there, which we think is important. If you've seen AlphaGo, I think one of the interesting things that comes up with that is it's not just about machines being smarter than people, it's machines being super smart, maybe smarter than people, to help us understand more about ourselves, to help us understand more about the human condition. They can be our friends. They should be our friends, right? And so here, that's what we've done. The tool is a friend, and it helps the live assessor, the practitioner, who then gives you a personal explanation. 25-page report, lots of insights into careers, tasks, and hobbies. Its origins, I've told you about, East and West. It's very precise, and it has 10 quadrillion variations. Some psychometric tests, you have 16. They say that you're one of 16 profiles or one of 9 profiles. We have 10 quadrillion, and I don't think we're going to run out of those. Everybody's so unique, and that's what it is. It is precise. There's a human touch, as I've mentioned. Its scope of uses, it's used by career counselors, coaches, HR people, art therapists, mental health professionals. It's even used by Ayurvedic doctors. And it's versatile. You can use it to select your courses, your streams, careers, for recruitment, outplacement, life balance, relationships. So powerful about it. We have our online course and also on site for MN Life, where there's 4 parts. It's 12 hours, both online and offline, where you explore your nature. You learn to align it. You learn how to feed your tigers. You learn how to natural communication, talk to other people of different natures than yours, because everybody's different. We've got this in the online course. I've made a virtual company with 9 characters with videos. Each character has his or her own nature. And then you understand, you get to analyze them and understand that where the conflicts come up and how to help them align it. So it's both interactive, you got the visual stuff, and you apply it to yourself with dynamic exercises. So those are 2 things. You could do the test. You can also do the MN Life workshop if you like to. You can become a practitioner. That means if you're a counselor or a guidance professional, you can take our certified course. It's 21 hours, 7 weeks, and online classes, which I'm teaching, and some of our other experts are teaching. It's got 5 levels of certification. And that brings me to my end. Discover your nature. Get aligned and thrive. I'll finish with this. There is a sustainability issue at both a personal level and a global level. When you are aligned with your nature, you are happy. You don't need too much stuff from outside to make you happy, because you get your pleasure from doing what you love to do. That makes you independently sustainable. Your consumption, your footprint, your ecological footprint, your sociological footprint is much less. And if everybody's doing that, right? Bund, bund, what is that? How does that go? Bund, bund, bhar jate, it fills up the glass, right? Drop by drop, if everybody on the planet starts getting aligned with their nature, do you imagine what happens? There was recently a documentary on YouTube that was released for free where Jeff Gibbs and Michael Moore talk about the planet of the humans, that the only way forward for our planet is not just electric vehicles and the sustainable technology. They say we have to reduce consumption. That is the conclusion of these guys. The only way forward is to reduce consumption. I therefore make an appeal to everybody out there that all of this knowledge is so deeply embedded. You are from India. It is within your culture. It is in your, it's khun mein hai. You understand it implicitly. And we have to bring this knowledge out. If you need to export something and want to bring something to the world, as Sahid is saying, we don't need just another technology. We need human technologies that are going to help people be more sustainable. So my appeal to you, after so many years of spending time in India and meeting so many beautiful people, is that you know this like the back of your hand. Please bring this knowledge to the world. Help people understand their natures. Let's help get our planet more aligned and more sustainable. And I thank you for your time and for listening to me, and for Sahid and all the 3G team for the beautiful work that they're doing. Namaste, dhanyavad, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Paul Rudolph, for giving us a glance at the theorists of multiple nature framework. It was such an important and knowledgeable thing that we learned from you today. We were truly amazed by listening to that, weren't we? Let us know your views in the comment section, all you lovely people. And also, we have a digital certificate So, sir, can we have the certificate, please? Hello?
Yes, we would be sharing the certificate here. We have the digital certificate for Mr. Stephen. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic situation, we are not able to give the certificate in person, but we are going to give you a virtual certificate. I would request you to please accept this, Mr. Stephen.
Of course, I accept it with gratitude and tremendous appreciation.
1 second, the certificate is loading. Or else, let me share it from my end. Please give us a quick moment. Yes, we have the certificate over here. So ladies and gentlemen, please let's give a virtual round of applause for Mr. Stephen for spending his valuable time for us here. And in fact, this is daytime for us here for Stephen. He's in the other part of the world, and it's almost like, what's your time, sir?
Well, I'm in Cambodia, so I'm just an hour and a half ahead of you right now.
All right, then that's fine. All right. Anyway, thank you so much to have spent your valuable time for us.
Sure,
and yes, over to Nenam.
Thank you so much, sir. And okay, great. So let's go to our next segment.
Join the vision, build India to serve. Join the mission, build India to serve the world.
Join the mission and build India to serve the world.
Join the mission, build India to serve the world.
Join the mission, build India to serve the world.